Flight Boss, bitch. You know, for sure. You're not listening to the Mind of an Terry's Moon. Flight Boss, the Archangel Uriel. And I'm here to carry out God duties and motherfucking responsibilities. And right now, we gonna get into when worlds clash. That's right, when worlds collide. Motherfucking clash of the goddamn titans, goddamn it, motherfucker. Now, look. Before we even get into this video, we gotta break down what the fuck is a world. Because everybody got their own concept and their own interpretations of a world. So that should give you a pinpoint right there on what a world is. Don't get lost on what the world. Get lost. Try to understand that. And then you will kind of get a better perception on what the world actually is. It's just like the question of is there a God or not? Every individual person you go and ask going to have their own concept of it. So for the most part, check this out. That lets you that give you a pinpoint on what the fuck a world is. So once you think about it, look at it like this. If you ask Archangel Uriel, I'm going to tell you that the world is nothing more, nothing less than a conceptual outlook. Now you probably thinking like, who's conceptual outlook? Check this out. The world is nothing more, nothing less than a conceptual outlook. You know why? Because what I conceptualize within dictates my outlook on things. So just think about it. Now the things that's on your mind makes up your world. This is why you got your world, I got my world. So this is gonna give you a better understanding of this video when I'm describing when worlds clash, when worlds collide. Now, what is your world made out of? What is my world made out of? Now check this out. Now check this out. The things that's on your mind dictates your actions, dictates the outlook of things to you. So that's your world. So since we are many offsprings and we're within a world, that's letting you know we're within a mind. We're within someone's mind. And we're the offsprings of that. And since we got a piece of that, right, we have our own world within that world. So for the most part, your world, what makes up your world is the shit that's on your mind. So what makes up your dreams? What makes up your world, right? Now you probably lost in the physical, looking for something physical. But that goes back to this phrase, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words never will. Now the elemental energies and the tools and the access and the things that we have access to actually build our world in the astral realm, right? It's things that's dealing with like the intentions, which is like love, hate, jealousy, greed, motivation, passion. So think about what your world made out of. You come across somebody. Now look, we all, since we are within a world, we're within a mind, we all have access to the same tools. But the way you build your tools may be different than the way I use my tools. For an example, we all have access to Lego blocks. But the shit you build with your Lego blocks may be different than the shit I build with my Lego blocks. So for an example, in your world may consist of more jealousy than love. Now in my world may consist of more love than jealousy. Now we both have the same energies. It's just that the levels of one and the other may override another person's. So when you got a clash of worlds, that's a lot of times what happens. When you got a clash of worlds, but it's in a harmonious way, what actually happens is both of y'all dreams or imaginations or y'all worlds is made up of kind of the same levels of elements. So with love, y'all kind of on the same levels. With hate, y'all got the same levels. You know what I'm saying? With passion, y'all got the same levels. So one person energy ain't overriding the other. So when y'all worlds collide, it's not causing a friction. It's not causing bubbles, and it's not causing acid. It's not causing in the chemical room when you mix too many bad chemicals together, you get an explosion and shit. Too much salt and too much of this and too much of that. You know what I'm saying? It's just like that. It's not causing that. It's more like sugar and water. It's not like water and oil. See what I'm saying? Now, for the most part, check this out. Now, what makes your world? The shit that's on your mind. So your spirit is making your worlds. Like I said, your spirit is shapeless and formless. Nobody can see your spirit. Only way we can see your spirit is through the expressions, through your layers, through the many layers and the forms and the shapes and the lights that it created for itself to act out its expression. So you didn't got through so many layers, you got a whole fucking body now. Think about how low you in density because of that. Think about how much of a demon you are because of that. But let's not get lost into the religious aspects of it. But as far as a spirit, right? Now, as a spirit, you creating the world. So all the people, places, and things that's in your life is what you created. So they are representation. These things, external things, are representations of with your spirit. They are representations of the elements and the tools your spirit have been using to build these buildings, to build these worlds, to build these outlooks. So if you got a bunch of negative experiences in your life, think about your spirit. You are a negative ass spirit. You keep creating negative shapes and forms and your conscious, which is your sun sign. So your sun, your conscious is one of the first shapes and forms you created for yourself to act out this expression. So you picked the ego for yourself, and that was one of the first big tools you got to shape all the other tools that you got. You see what I'm saying? So let's get into some street smart shit 101 real quick, because this is what worlds clash. Now, when you start to get involved with this shit and start to jump rope, be careful of putting too much energy into someone else's world, aka putting too much energy into someone else's realm of reality. Now, what do I mean by this? I'm gonna break this down on the simplest surface. Check this out. Now, say you got a friend, right? And your friend want to start a business. If you're a female, hair salon. If you a homeboy, y'all starting some motherfucking the skies ain't the motherfucking limit. I don't even know why I say hair salon for females, but I'm just trying to generalize shit. Now, for the most part, say you got a best friend. Your best friend want to start a motherfucking business, right? Now, your best friend got this idea. So, one of the first shapes and forms is going to be like a conscious, an ego. So for you to be consciously aware of it, your friend's spirit got to create an ego, got to create a conscious for it, for you to be consciously aware of it. Now, a conscious is going to be, the first conscious is going to be like a thought form. Keyword, form. That's a shape and form. It may be less physical, maybe less dense, but it's a shape and form. So it's in the energy realm. So an idea. So that idea, the name of the business or whatever, that's the first ego. That's the first conscious. So that's the first thing. That's the first thing that person's spirit created in order for you to see it, to see that idea, to see that world. So boom, that's the only representation of that world you see based upon what that person told you. Now, that business, right? The name of it or whatever the person told you, right? You don't know what it took to make that world. For an example, you just know how it looked. You know the business model, the shapes and forms we're going to have to use in the external realm to put it together and things of that nature. But listen, it still come from the spirit in the astral realm. So like I said, you don't know what that dream is made out of. So even if it looked good in the physical yang realm, still look at that shit in the yin realm. And what I mean by that is you don't know what it took to make that dream. You don't know what world that person was in to come up with that idea. For an example, just because the idea looked good yang-wise, yin-wise, that person may be going through some hard shit in their life in order for them to even come up with an idea, for them to come up with that menace in the first place. So for an example, that means that idea is backed and supported by, for an example, say that person may have went through something negative in their life to make them come up with the idea like, damn, this is why I want to make this business. I want to make this business because I want to get the fuck away from these people because these people keep robbing me or something like that, right? So that's letting you know, right? Now, the business in the yang realm sound like a good idea. But in the yin realm, it's backed and supported by negativeness. That person wanted to start it because of some negative shit. You see what I'm saying? So that's what's going to get attached to it. But if you're not a spiritual person, that's the part you're not seeing. And especially if you're a person who got a lot of earth in your chart and you refuse to look at the spiritual realm, you're going to be looking at all the physical forms and justifying those things like, that other shit don't even matter. This the only thing that matter. And then you end up getting killed next to a person because you wasn't taking the considerations of the actual energy signatures that's behind the things that's going on. You see what I'm saying? So when you thinking about it, right, you have to dissect it. Be careful when you dive into anybody's world. I don't care how good the idea may sound. So for an example, let's get back to this example. So before you jump in and give attention to somebody's world, know what their world consists of, and you would know that because you will be around this person long enough to know what kind of energy they be in for them to even formulate the ideas that they have in the first place. And therefore, you'll be able to mathematically, in a spiritual realm, dissect the root causes of why this person came up with this idea, and you'll be able to see if it's out of good spiritual nature or bad spiritual nature. Like I said, remind you, regardless how it looks in the yang realm, regardless of how much money it's going to make y'all, regardless of how much it seemed to be harmless in the yang realm, none of that matters in the yin realm. What you're going to attract is what you're going to attract from the yin realm. No matter how good or pretty size or makeup you try to put it in the illusion yang realm. It doesn't matter. This is what I'm trying to get y'all to understand. Just because things look like they're going good for people don't mean it's going good for them inside. That's the most surface level way I can explain it to y'all. Now for an example, this is why I say be careful with giving too much energy with someone else's world. Because, all right, say this person come up, your best friend come with this idea, right? Now, say you start to give it attention. So now you start to add pieces of your world to their world, aka you start to add ideas to it and things of that nature. Remind you, if you're not spiritual and you're not understanding what their world made out of in the yin realm and you're just looking at it in the yang realm, you're going to be naive to the fact. But here's the thing, for my people who do look in the yin realm, the moment you start to add ideas and things of that nature, you make yourself a part of their world. Now, by you not knowing what their world was made out of, aka if it consists of how much percentage of love, how much percentage of hate, how much percentage of jealousy, how much percentage of greed, how much percentage of harshness, how much percentage of pleasantness, how much percentage of prosperity. You see what I'm saying? Or negative or positive. Now, if you not knowing that, then here's what's going to happen. You're gonna put yourself in there. You're gonna start adding ideas in their world. Now you're gonna start to put stuff in their world that they wasn't aware of. See, this is why it's important for you to be aware of what their world is made out of. Because if you can see the percentage level, then you will know how much percentage level you should add. You will know how much to involve, aka you will know how much to involve yourself and how much not to involve yourself. So you'll be like, all right, I should give this person a little bit of this much inspiration. But I don't want to make this person think I'm this much involved because they're going to be like, you will be able to think clearly on that level other than solely making a mistake. But I'm going to get into how people make mistakes when they involve themselves, when they put too much energy into other people's worlds. So for the most part, now look, now say you a person, you don't know what the person's dream or world or that business model consists of, and you're not into the yin realm. So when they give you this idea, you start adding ideas to their shit, right? So now you start adding what you adding. Now say the percentage that you adding is love, and you adding this much amount, and say the percentage that might not even consist of how they built it up and came to the conclusion of that model, right? So now you adding organisms and shit to their world that they need now without you even knowing, and you just throwing ideas out there. You didn't even put in no work yet. You just throwing ideas. Now, here's what happens, right? You end up developing and building houses in this person's world and people start moving in those houses and buildings. Now you become a realtor in that person's world without even checking up on the house or without ever calling on and keeping up on the house. AKA, you end up creating responsibilities in that person's world that person can't even take care of. So here's what that means. Say it comes to a situation where a week or a month later where you're not giving no more ideas. You're not adding to that person's ideas no more. And then say you came to the conclusion that the reason why you stopped because it seemed like you put more energy into it than that person. Here's why it seemed like that. Because it was your fault. That because you wasn't paying attention what that world consists of. So you end up putting more civilians into that person's world than that person even had. So now when that person so now say that all the ideas that you gave that person for their business model, for your best friend business model, right? That person start developing in their own idea, right? They like, okay, yeah, I can see this. But here's what happens. You're a part of that now. So now all the things they see remind you. You still not considering what made their world in the first place. And now they adding shit that involves you with it now. So now it's like you a part of something that's out of your hands. That's almost like you went to another city that you don't live in, caused a bunch of commotion, and then you left that city. Now a bunch of people's houses is getting shot up and shit because of something you did, and you ain't even in that city to rectify the situation. You see what I'm saying? AKA this person's world, this person's city, this person's mind. So here's what's going to happen, right? The moment you stop supporting that person's world, just because you came to the conclusion on why you ain't even know why you was doing that in the first place, and it ain't even working for you, right? Now what's going to happen is, since you're not taking responsibility for all the buildings and the shit that you built in that person's world, that person is going to start knocking down these buildings. So this person is going to start creating scenarios and circumstances to kind of manifest, to kind of make you feel like you're not a part of that world anymore. And you're going to feel the damage in your buildings and houses being torn down and you not being in control of it. Now, what do I mean by this? It's going to play out in your life of person going to start throwing slight remarks at you, start being slightly more negative than they was before. Y'all going to still be friends, but it's just going to be like a sense of energy like, oh, I can't add you with my shit though. Like a sense of like a tit for tat type of shit. Like, this your friend, they going to tell you shit, but they give off this energy like, yeah, but you know you can't fuck with my shit though. You just got to do your own shit. You know what I'm saying? Like little slight remarks and smirks and smirky negative energies, and then that's going to add on and build up to the point that y'all start slap boxing with each other and shit like that. Or if y'all females, y'all start fucking each other mans and shit, and it leads on to other things. See, I hope I ain't get too deep. This for my soul group. I know y'all was with me, but see, this level of consciousness, I'm aware that it can lose people. You see what I'm saying? I'm aware of that. But let's stay on track, because we ain't for that. For people who are lost, just let them be lost. They eventually get on. This is for the people who are already caught on. So you know, when worlds clash, that's why worlds clash. You know what I'm saying? Because everybody's world is made up of different elemental energies. Now, we all have access to the same elemental energies, but there's so many elemental energies that everybody percentage levels is on different levels. You see what I'm saying? So, you know, it's all about, this is why they say opposites attract, because a lot of times it's an add-on. And this is what energy likes to do. It likes to add. Now, when opposites attracts, what actually attracts actually cause friction also. So just because something attracts, don't get lost in the word attract. And then get lost in man's words and man's language and all the extra meanings that they add onto it, like attractive and attractiveness, to the point that you get so lost you only apply attractiveness to the positive or the masculine energy. When really that's not even actually true. That's the lie from the pit of motherfucking hell, to be honest with you. You see what I'm saying? Attraction actually comes from, if you want to be technical, it comes from the negative, the feminine energy. But attraction itself, like, that's from the source. But attraction is an offspring from a source, from another source. So attraction is just a resource. But the great grandfather or grandmother of attraction will be negativity. But attraction itself is like the great grandkid. So once you get to attraction, that can play out as negative or positive. So people who are lost into all the man-made words of attraction and attractiveness, y'all think that it's only has something to do with positive, but actually it's not positive or negative. But if you want to be technical, it's really an offspring from the great ancestor of the negative feminine energy, attraction. Because when you look at attract is magnetism. So if you are an attractive person, that means people are paying attention to you and you gain traction. And not just attraction, being attractive as far as facial features, or you could be attractive spiritually. Or you could be like, when you gain attraction, that's magnetism. That sucks in. And sucks in, that's related to darkness. Because water absorbs and take in and hold in and womb and all that. And that's related to the feminine energy, and the feminine energy is related and is a great offspring to the negative energy. And the negative is an offspring to some other shit. See, it goes deep, but you really have to be spiritually inclined to understand these things. So when you come across somebody using their attractiveness for certain gains in their life, don't get lost into thinking that this person got something more than you got. You see what I'm saying? Like me, I don't have certain words to explain things in a way. So people who are spiritually inclined like me, but they're in the left brain, so they know how to logically put it into words, they will be able to be like, look, brother, you very smart. You just have to learn better language or better words of how to say it. But when you dive truly in the spirit, you truly don't give a fuck about that. And you truly can't even get to this point of me explaining things in this way, even caring about words. You can't get there, even caring about words. You see what I'm saying? You can't even get there spiritually if you a person who even harbor over words at times. You got to truly be a spiritual person who don't even give a fuck about the realm of reality you in at the moment, and not even care about life and death at the moment, and be able to smile through pain and everything. I don't care if you get shot, you got a fucking bullet wound on you currently right now, and you got to learn how to smile. When you get to that moment, that's when you really get to spiritual heights. That's what you really have to understand. Then when you bring yourself back down into these shapes and forms that your spirit create for yourself in order to understand itself, then that's when you can lose yourself into try to learn it. But then at least you're learning your right self. You're learning yourself. You're the right aspect. You're not learning someone else's dream and imagination. And therefore, that's when the world don't even clash. Because, see, this video can even get into concepts of understanding small worlds, big worlds, and people who don't even have a world of themselves. So their world get absorbed in someone else's wave, someone else's conscious wave world. Now, that's a person who is indoctrinated. Their world is too small, so they have to go in a bigger world, aka someone else's imagination that already gained traction, that already gained all this shit, right? And then they have to utilize those kind of elements because those elements worked at one point in time. Because in other words, that world wouldn't have been that big, aka that person's presence wouldn't have been that big, aka that person's idea or concept wouldn't have been that big to be still carried on for generations and generations, or civilizations and civilizations. So you got a spirit who then created a big ass body, and that a lot of people pay attention to, and it gained a lot of traction. And if it worked at one point in time, you're going to have a lot of other people, a lot of other smaller spirits utilize and take notes and utilize that as an example, aka go into that world and utilize those energies in order to support whatever add-on or whatever world that spirit is trying to create at the time. Right? So this is why it's important to have your own source. But it's always going to take more time into making your source bigger than if you add other people's source that already gained traction, you know what I'm saying, and already put in the work. So yeah, people been here before you, so they didn't put in the time. So this is why you have bigger worlds than smaller worlds. They didn't put in the time that you need to put in, but a lot of people are lazy and like to take shortcuts, so they utilize other people's time, other people's examples, other people's robots, other people's spaceships, other people's worlds, other people's concepts, other people's imagination. Remind you, everything I'm just saying, that's all the same thing. Other people's shapes, other people's forms, other people's beings, other people's genesises, other people's genies, other people's gens. Everybody want to use another person who done already put in the work, who predated them and already created a big ass spaceship and world view for themselves. And since it worked, everybody want to take shortcuts and utilize them. So people worship these things no matter what word they use, whether it's Lord, God, King, Pharaoh, government, concept, idea, intellect, teaching, learning. That's all the same shit. Another spirit that created a body for themselves, so whatever form, human, whatever they was, and they created a form, and they put in the time, and it worked. And you got a bunch of bullshitter, fake, weak-ass spirits here nowadays who want to take a bunch of shortcuts. But since the shortcuts don't work for them, they end up crying. So they want to use other spirits that predate them and use the spaceships that those spirits used. But your bitch ass is in a spaceship right now as a spirit. Don't you know that? So quit taking shortcuts, motherfucker. Just put in the motherfucking time. Don't look at it like life is short. That's this fucking realm of reality. Motherfucker, you got forever. You ain't going nowhere fast. It's like you running on a treadmill fast for no reason. That treadmill gonna be there. The worlds is gonna be here. Now your bitch ass spirit could get lost in one of these worlds and only think it can only play out in that only way. But I'm here to tell you as Archangel Uriel, don't lose yourself. You got plenty time. I don't give a fuck if you 90 years old right now and you somewhere crying like I need to get my life right because I could die any day now. Look, listen. Dry your tears. You finna be born. You got forever. And think about it. If you 90 years old on your deathbed right now, I hope you listen to the Archangel Uriel because I want to give you so much pleasure to your spirit because this is what I want to tell you. Get that fuck shit off your mind or whatever you think people gonna be worried about in this realm of reality because your mind is creating the shape, the form, aka the thought form, the concept of where you about to be birthed into and everything you're gonna manifest externally in that life. So I repeat, that life may not have nothing to do with this life, so don't drag on with the horrors and sorrows of this life. Smile and create your birth. So therefore, when you be like, before you die, be like, shit, hell yeah. On my last breath, it could be any minute now. I know I'm about to be a millionaire or whatever like that. However that look, wherever it go. I guarantee when you be born, you just might be born in a family that's goddamn rich. That's goddamn all this shit. See what I'm saying? So if you're on your deathbed right now, you got any funk, junky ass, demonic ass, spiritual family members around you right now that's praying and doing all and crying and saying, "Oh, I don't want you to go right now." You on your last breath, you tell these motherfuckers, get the fuck out the room. Get the fuck out the room right now. And before you leave the room, cut on your Wi-Fi, cut on this cheap ass hospital Wi-Fi, and put on Archangel Uriel Dolos the Polymath video. Y'all stayed out there with all that prayer shit. Let me use your phone for my last breath. Put on Archangel Uriel video. And y'all take y'all motherfucking asses outside the door and pray with all that shit. I'm gonna go watch Archangel Uriel on my last breath. God damn it, y'all come in after I die. FLIGHTZ, bitch.